Brandon with goHUNT. We're here with another What You Need to Know video. This one we're going to be doing Colorado. So Colorado over the past year has been in the news for a bunch of different reasons. Namely, the big hitter is the wolf reintroduction. They've also made some pretty big changes with tag allocation to non-resident that we'll jump into, and some potential changes that are being proposed through different committees. So Colorado has actually had quite a bit of change going into 2024. And this video, we're going to address some of that along with some of the more common questions that we get about applying for big game in Colorado. The big, most important item that I have is the draw deadline. Don't ever miss a draw deadline. They don't have a backup time frame that you can just buy points or anything like that. So this year, it is April 2nd at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. So I would recommend jump on early. Don't wait till the last minute. A lot of times state agencies are known for having kind of a lagging computer system when you go to apply. So, but don't miss it. April 2nd, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. That's the big one. Applying in the state of Colorado is relatively easy. You've got two options. You can either do it online, which I highly recommend. It's super straightforward. You'd log in, create an account, or use your CID, customer identification number, to log in. You can access all the information. You use the hunt codes from the state regulations to apply for the various hunts you've got. Or the other option is you can call on the phone and you can have an agent walk you through your application. They still do allow you to do that. I still recommend doing it online. You're in full control of applying. There's always a chance with a fat finger if you're relying on someone else to do it for you. One unique thing with Colorado, they do make you have a hunter education number. So whether it's from your home state, if you've picked it up from a state that you lived in at one time, they do require you to have a hunter education. And they do require you to have that card with you while you're in the field hunting. So make sure you can find that. If you don't have one, go to your state agency that you're a resident of. They can get you a duplicate, but you do have to have that in the state of Colorado. A big question that we get around applying in these various states is around cost. Colorado is not an incredibly expensive state, in my opinion, to apply for. They have increased the cost little by little over time. They run a cost increase on the Denver area, just inflation index. And so right now, to apply in Colorado, you do have to buy what they call a qualifying license. For non-residents, it's the annual small game license is $98.92, so about $100. If you're a resident, it's $35. One thing that I like to point out with people that have kids that are of the hunting age, the youth qualifying license is only $1.46. Along with that annual small game license, you do have an application fee per species. For non-residents, $10. For resident, it's $8. So if you were going to apply for deer, elk, and antelope, you would have the qualifying license of about $100 plus $10 for each of those three species. You're about $130 to go into the application. It's a state that you can get in, build some points for some youth. It's incredibly, inexpensive to get your kids going into the state of Colorado. The main perk they have for youth hunters is cost. They do have some benefits when we start talking secondary draw. They give 100% of the preference to youth applicants in that draw. So they do a good job of catering to youth. Jumping into their draw and their point system. They have a different draw for deer, elk, antelope, black bear than they do for Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, Rocky Mountain goat, and moose, and then even a third one for desert bighorn sheep. Desert bighorn sheep, pure random, no points, very limited opportunity there. And if you apply for deserts, you can't apply for Rockies. When you jump into Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, moose, mountain goat, they have what they call a weighted point system. It's still based on the preference draw, but what they do is they require you to have 3 preference points to be eligible to draw a permit. And so you go into a pool of 3 preference points, and then after that, your 4th year, you have the option to accrue what they call a weighted point. What that weighted point does is it gives you a statistical advantage with each additional weighted point in the draw. And that is unique, again, Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, moose, and Rocky Mountain goat. They do give you the option to, like I say, to purchase that weighted point. You're not required to. Once you've hit the 3 preference point threshold, they allow you the option to buy that weighted point for $100 per species. I would highly recommend that you jump into draw odds filtering and look and see what that weighted point will do for you as far as advantage in drawing. If you've been doing this a long time and have a bunch of those weighted points, it might be advantageous for you to continue to buy them. Or look and say, my odds of drawing are as good as I'm probably going to get. I don't need to fork over that $100. It doesn't disqualify you from the draw or anything like that. They don't punish you for not purchasing that point. It's just an option they give you as an applicant. When we talk deer, elk, antelope, black bear, it's a true preference state. So the guy with the most points, he gets the permit. I particularly like this type of state. It lends itself to predictability. It allows me to prepare, kind of plan on what I'm going to draw when. Allows me to accrue points and go hunting. With that, their draw system allows you to select up to 4 choices. So I can go in for my mule deer application, I can go in and select 4 different hunt codes. The way that their draw works is they consider everyone's first choice before going to anyone's second choice. So as opposed to a state like Arizona or a New Mexico or Nevada, that they consider everyone's choice on their application before going to the next application, Colorado considers everybody's first choice before anyone's second choice is considered. With that, the only choice that uses your points is that first choice. So if I put a hunt as a second choice and I draw that second choice, I then accrue another preference point, and I can still get a permit and go hunting. And so that's a good strategy that we recommend a lot of times. Is in our draw odds, in our standalone draw odds, or in filtering, you can actually select your odds based on your choice level. And you can look at all the hunts based on previous year's applications on what was available as a second choice and what your odds of drawing that as a second choice was. So a lot of times that's been my strategy. Is I'll put the first choice that I really would love to have, but as a second choice, I put a hunt that I really, would enjoy. And that allows me to continue to build points for that hunt that I really like, but still get in the field in the state of Colorado. Colorado is a state that I would recommend being in every single year. Pretty centrally located to most other states. Travel time is not crazy, and just the amount of public land, the amount of animals across the landscape, regardless of species, is incredible. So Colorado is a state that you should put some strategy behind. Jump into our application strategy articles, jump into our unit profiles, state profiles, review it. Ton of information on the Insider platform to get you started in the right direction there. To continue on, a big question that we get, and one of the big changes going into 2024, is around non-resident tag allocation. So the way that Colorado allocates their permits for sheep, moose, and goat, they give 10% of total permits available. And those are a standalone tag quota that they outline in their regulations for those species. So you know exactly how many permits are available for a non-resident for each hunt code. For deer, elk, and antelope, they have 2 different categories in how they allocate permits. What they call a high demand hunt is any hunt code based on the previous 3 years that took a resident 6 points or more to draw is a high demand hunt. And those hunt codes are limited for a non-resident. Those hunt codes are limited for up to 20% of permits. And it's been that way in recent years. For any other hunt, so any hunt that took 6 points or fewer for a resident to draw, so not a high demand hunt, they've taken that to an up to 25% for 2024. In previous years, that used to be up to 35%. And so you're seeing that decrease in the number of permits available to non-residents. What that's going to do this year is put a little bit of unpredictability going into next year. Anytime you cut the number of tags available to a residency or increase the number of tags to a residency, you're going to increase or decrease the number of points that's going to require to draw a permit. And so that's one thing that I would really look at going into this year's application is jump into the page that we internally call it the draw odds detail page. So if you're on standalone draw odds and you click into a particular hunt, you'll see a 5-year trend of applications, of draw odds, applications, and where those applicants drew out at what point level. And so with that detailed view, you can go in and start to predict that if they're cutting 10% of the permits going to a non-resident, you can see where that new breakpoint might be, and you might see that a hunt may jump a couple point levels. I do predict that there are going to be some seasons and some hunts, the particularly low tag type of hunts, that are going to jump a point or 2 points this year. The other question that we get is around group applications. A lot of times we like to hunt with our friends. It's a whole lot more fun if your buddy has a permit and you have a permit on the same hunt. Colorado, in my opinion, is not too friendly to group applicants. The way that they treat their points with a group application is the person with the least amount of points, that's the point level that you go into with a group app. They do not limit. As far as deer, elk, antelope, they don't limit the group size. So you could have 2 people or you could put 20 people in a group. But do know that if you've got that guy in your group that doesn't like building points and he's sitting at the goose egg 0, that's the point level your entire applicant group is going to go into. They don't average. They don't really cater to that point level. So be mindful of that. If you're talking Rocky Mountain Bighorn, Rocky Mountain Goat, they do allow you to apply with 2 people in the group. We don't recommend it. Those tags are so limited that if you happen to be the last applicant drawn with 1 permit available and you have a party of 2, they're going to skip you. In reality, unless you're dead set on having multiple permits in your hunt party, I don't really typically recommend that you apply as a group in Colorado. I'm of the mindset that go in individually. If one of you draws, just commit to your buddy that you're going to go help him out, learn the unit. You might be the lucky guy the next year. The last part that I wanted to talk about is a big question is, should I be applying in Colorado? And that's a definite yes in my book. Colorado has incredible habitat, has one of the largest elk herds in the West. Antelope are doing relatively well. Weren't terribly affected by the winter kill last year. So absolutely, I think you should be building points and hunting in the state. Colorado's kind of that last state that has true over-the-counter type permits. We explain those in articles and on the filtering program, but you can build points, you can get in the state, you can hunt. It's an incredible state. With that, they have a lot of seasons. They've probably got more seasons for these species than most states. It allows someone that is constrained by a schedule or a work schedule to pick a season and still get in the field. They've got, archery season kicks off the first part of September. They've got early rifle seasons. They've got muzzleloader seasons. For elk, they have 4, typical rifle seasons, plus some later season antlerless type hunts if you're into that. So basically from September to December, you can pick a season that will fit for you. One little call out that I'd like to make with that season structure, if you're into mule deer hunting in the high country, they have an early season rifle deer hunt. This year, the way the calendar lies and the way that they outline those seasons, you get a 1-week head start on top of muzzleloader hunters. Typically, the muzzleloader hunt and that early rifle wilderness area type hunt start the same day. This year, a little hidden nugget is that rifle season, if you've got the points to draw it, will start 1 week ahead of the muzzleloader hunters. So that's a little quick tip that a lot of people I think are going to overlook this year going into that. That was my quick rundown in Colorado. Things you need to know, common questions that we typically have. Be sure to check out the insider products that we have. The application strategy articles are a deep dive into everything Colorado. We've got filtering, standalone draw odds, everything you need to know to put a strategy together for Colorado. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comments below. We'll try and answer them as best we can and get as much information to you. Thanks for watching.